Right, so this one is a continuing on from the last video. I've changed the comments a little bit so you can see what we're doing today, or this video, which is an if statement, and then I've left the operators just above so we can refer to them at any point we need to. All right, so what is an if statement? So it's basically a choice. Okay, so if I just get my pen on, if you think back to when we did flowcharts, we used a rhombus and we had choices, often either yes or no, to choose from them. Okay, so if I said something like, if I set a number here and made it equal to 1, because I've got no space to write, if I did that and then I said, ask the question, is num greater than 2, and then if the answer was yes, it might print out, sorry, that's the wrong shape, print out something like yes. And if it's not, it might print out no. All right, and then finally end. All right, so this bit here is the if statement. It's the selection, and you're choosing between two things. Okay, so what we're going to do is just slowly go through a simple example. All right, and then I'm going to give you some tasks to do. I'll put them on the school website, and I'll put the link on the bottom of this video, and you can go to it and have a go at them and see how you do. Okay, so let's start off. So if we create a variable, all right, and we'll call it num1, right, num1, and we'll say it's equal to, let's say, 7. All right, and then we're just going to write a simple if statement where we can output if this number is greater than a bigger number or not. Okay, so we're going to say if, and then we're going to say num1, right, that's referring to this here, and I'm going to ask the question if num1, or I'll say the statement rather than ask the question, I should say, is greater than 100, and then I put a colon here. All right, it's not a semicolon, that's a colon. And you'll notice when I press enter, there's space here. Okay, that is what we call indentation in programming when we're writing a computer program. Now, if I press enter here and continue to write my code, I will get an error. All right, everything that's part of this if statement needs to be indented. So I'm going to say if num1 is bigger than num2, print. So I'm going to get my speech marks. And then close brackets. Now, at this point, I'm going to go back now, okay, because I'm going to write the second part of this if statement. And the second part of this if statement, I do not want to be part of the first part of this if statement. So to come out of the first part of the if statement, I just go back to the start of the screen. And I'm going to say elif, and then I'm going to say num1, and I'm going to say is equal to this time, sorry, not 2 pluses, 2 equals, and then I'm going to say, let's say 30. So elif, the number is equal to 30, we can put a colon again, and then I'm going to print, and then we can say, I don't know, that is a medium number. And then you'll see we're still indented, but I want to go back to the start of the screen because I want to write the final part of this if statement. So I'm going to write else. Still colon, but I don't write any comparisons or anything like that here. I'm just going to say else, because if it's not this, and it's not this, absolutely everything else we're going to say else for. Okay, so I'm going to say else print that's a small number. All right, so let's have a look at what we've done here. I'll get my pen out so we can annotate it. All right, so we've said if num1 is greater than 100, we're going to print that's a big number. Elif, so we're given another choice, num1 is equal to 30, we're going to print out it's an even number, a medium number, sorry. And then absolutely everything else we're going to write as small. Now the reason we can write this else is because if it's not bigger than and it's not the same as, it's smaller than, right? Logically it's smaller than. So when we run this, the number of the output we get should be that's a small number. So let's run it and see. Turn my pen off. Run it, and we see there that's a small number. Now let's test it. Let's call it maybe 200, and we run it again, and you'll see it outputs that's a big number. And if we change this to exactly 30 and run it again, you'll see it says that's a medium number. All right, I'm going to comment this out so we can have a look at another example. And let's have an example of something we can input. Okay, so let's say user guess is equal to int input. We want to guess with an integer, and then we're going to say guess my number. And then, oh, forgot two brackets there, sorry. So now we're going to start our statement, and we're going to say if user guess is less than, let's say 35, then print you guessed too small. We're going to come out of our if statement, so we can write an elif. Elif user guess is greater than 35, then print you guessed too big. And then we're going to put else. Remember, when you write else, you just write a colon after it. You don't have any of the comparisons. And we're just going to print well done, you number. Okay, and if we run this, or if we just talk about what we've done first. So in this part, we've said we've allowed the user to input a number that is an integer. And in this part, we've compared what the user has input to what my number is. It's 35. And if it's smaller than, we said you guessed too small. If it's larger than, we're going to say guess too big. And if it's not larger than and it's not smaller than, it must be the same. So we're going to write, you guessed my number. So let's run it and let's see if it works. Right, so down here, if I say number 12, it should say, what's happened here? Give me a second, there's something not running quite right there. Let's close this idle. And let's try that, running that again. So we write number 12, you guessed too small. Okay, let's run it again. And if we guess maybe number 40, should say you guessed too big. Yeah, it does. And then if we run it again, what have I did there? Oh, I accidentally typed number 5 into my code. We type number again, and if we type in 35 this time, it should say guessed correctly. All right, now what we can also do here is we can create, we can say my number maybe, or my num is equal to 35. And then instead of comparing it to 35, we can compare it to my num. And then if we run it again, we'll see if we get the same output. We do it. So if we guess, I don't know, less than 35, so we'll go number 3 this time. Guess too small. Run it again. We'll go big again, 66. Guess too big. And then we run it once more. You'll guess 35 this time. And it should say, oh, it says you guessed too big. Let's have a look why. I said number 5 is equal to 30. That's why. So let's run it again and put 30. Number 30. There you go. So you can see we can do it with numbers, and we can also compare it with variables. All right. Now I want to show you just one last thing in this video before it starts getting too long. Okay. Because with a game like this, it's often quite good if there's some type of randomness to it. So at the top of my code, because when we import things, we normally do it at the top of code. If I write import and I say random here, it means that now I'm calling upon something inside of Python to allow me to use random numbers without writing lots of complicated code. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to, instead of saying my num is equal to 30, I'm going to say my num is equal to, and I'm going to say random dot rand int. All right, so it's a random and it's a random integer. Okay, and then in brackets I'm going to give it a anywhere between 1 and 100. Okay, now I'm going to cheat a little bit just so you can, mainly so you can see how this works, and I'm going to print it here so I actually get to see what the number is, so we can guess properly on the game. Okay, so I'm just going to print the my num here. Oh, I haven't spelled that right. My num. Right, now if I run this, we can see that the random number it's created in this time, it's 50. So if I write 50, it should say I've got it. Yeah, well done, I've got it. Now if I run it again, I should have a different random number. Yeah, 25. So if I say 30 this time, it should say too big. Yeah, and then if I run it once more, and you can see this time it's 34, so I'll do a smaller one and it should say it's too small. All right then. So that is how if statements work. Please have a go at the if statement challenges on the class website. All right, I'll put the link in the description for this video, and also have a play around with the random function. Okay, and we'll probably look at this in later programs as well. All right, so have a look, have a go at the problems.